recording this. If you want to refer back to it later, I'll put it on our website as well. Um, my name is Matt Varga. I am a faculty member at the University of West Georgia and the director of this program. And it's my hope that we can spend the next 15 or 20 minutes together um, to review this information. And then at any point, if you have any questions, either feel free to speak up or type a question into the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. So moving right along, as I said, my name is Matt Varga, and I'm the director of this program. We have two other full-time faculty right now, Dr. Dina Neese and Dr. Ryan Bronkema, and then we're also in the process of hiring a full-time faculty member that will also help serve and contribute to the program. But also supporting this program, we have some adjunct faculty, like our president of University of West Georgia. He's going to be teaching our leadership course along with his entire cabinet. So really excited about that so that students can get a varied perspective on leadership and administration. Dr. Crafton, our provost, is also going to be an adjunct faculty and has expressed interest in teaching some of our courses as well. And then we'll be having some additional pro staff whose experiences and credentials are a bit more specific to a course. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but an example would be advanced legal issues. So our desire is to have somebody with a JD teaching the legal issues course. So the overall goals and objectives of this program, and there's a lot here, I'm not going to read it to you, but basically what we hope to do is increase your knowledge of university administration, what does it mean to be a leader, and how to manage finances in higher education. We also want to be able to increase your ability to solve and address critical issues in higher education. And that's one area right now that is becoming really, really important, that administrators have the tools to address those issues. And we're going to do that through helping you through critical analysis and reflective thought, looking at literature to influence your decisions, data-driven decision-making through institutional assessments, and then how can you analyze policy and program effectiveness to make those decisions. So you can see that there's a lot here, particularly on advancing the way one thinks about their role in higher education. Some unique aspects is this idea of higher education finance and advancement. Fundraising is becoming a priority for all divisions, and that's one aspect of our program. And then the legal issues, personal values, and ethics are all different objectives of our program. So it's our hope that once one gets their doctorate and comes out of this program, they'll be able to do all of these things to make change in higher education. So I mentioned the unique nature of our program. Well, first and foremost, we're fully online, and everything is done at a distance with the exception of coming to a 2-day orientation in Carrollton, Georgia. Aside from that, you won't need to come back to campus again, and everything we do will be virtual. We do not have any out-of-state tuition. So it's all in-state. There's e-tuition fees, and I'm going to talk about the estimated costs in a little bit, but that no out-of-state tuition piece can save you a considerable amount of money for an online program. We have about 2 years of coursework with 1.5 years of the dissertation, and we embed the dissertation into the coursework. So it's our hope that by the time you're done with coursework, that you will have a working draft of your dissertation that you can just knock out those dissertation hours to be able to get things done and moving along quickly. We don't have any comprehensive exams. The candidacy for a student happens once you defend chapters 1, 2, and 3 of your dissertation. And right now it is a traditional dissertation where you look at an issue in the field, develop a research study, and then come up with recommendations to solve it from a practitioner standpoint. The committees will consist of a faculty member and a practitioner because this is an EdD. So our focus is that we want to make sure that the dissertations have that practical component and you're not just hearing from faculty. And that adds to the piece of the piece on the emphasis of administration. Our curriculum was specifically designed with that in mind. And so we have an enrollment management course, which is very rare. Particularly, this becomes important when we start looking at metrics in particular states, retention-based funding, performance-based funding, and how can we get students from recruitment to enrolling to graduation. And this course will look at some of the theories around that. Capital projects and finance management, same thing. A big piece here for students to gain experience is looking at managing those capital multi-million-dollar projects, looking at buildings, architects, and all of those things. And then we have a practical research and assessment focus. We have 4 research courses, which could be considered a lot for an EdD, but the focus is from a practitioner standpoint, not a researcher standpoint, and I'm going to talk more about that when we get into the curriculum. So what do the admissions requirements look like? Well, there's 2 sets. The first one is the absolutely, all of these admissions requirements are required, but to get your application started, we need the graduate application, letters of recommendation, and from a faculty, supervisor, and then of your choosing. The faculty member, if it's been a while since you've been in an academic program, you can find a practitioner or another supervisor or somebody that can kind of speak to similar attributes. So we're flexible on that, but we do need 3 letters of recommendation, transcripts from all institutions attended, and then a master's degree. It can be in absolutely anything. That's kind of the nature of our field. And we're really kind of looking for that experience in higher ed. So the other part of the admissions requirements that are still required, but we have some flexibility and discretion as an admissions committee, is our preferred GPA is 3.5 at graduate school, 3 to 5 years supervisory or budgetary experience. Again, that's discretionary. If you're close to or coming up on or exceed whatever, that's fine. Your VITA, a writing sample, and then preferred GRE scores. And these are just preferred. And I will say this about the GRE. This is one of many requirements for this program. It's not a defining factor. It's taken into consideration, but students aren't numbers. We're looking more at your experience. What are you bringing? How do you contribute to the cohort? And we recognize that the GREs in some instances don't capture all of that. So I just want to put that out there because I know a lot of times some people get apprehensive about the GRE, and it by no means is it a defining factor, but is highly regarded as a requirement for the doc programs in the College of Education. So that's part of the reason why we have it as well. There's an April 15th priority deadline, so I know that's coming up quickly. And if you have an interest in applying and want to gather all of your materials, please feel free to send me an email so I can kind of keep an eye out for your application as well. And we can consider it if you're waiting on GRE scores, or we can make accommodations. I'm willing to work with folks, given that the deadline's coming up. So what does this program look like on a conceptual framework basis? And what I mean by that is, how did we establish this program? Well, we used the NASPA and ACPA competencies for the courses, and we did that in developing the courses and looking at the overall curriculum and how can we get students to advance their competencies based on the NASPA and ACPA from advanced to intermediary, because the assumption is that students will be coming in at advanced level. And then we did kind of an intersectionality of those competencies in particular courses to really build from course to course to course. So then that way throughout the entire program, you're building on knowledge that you've already gained. So hopefully you'll be pulling from previous courses. And then the other piece of that is this idea of professional growth. And we really want this interaction with the cohort, because this is an EdD. There will be that piece to learn from cohort members, learn from other practitioners, to be able to build your network and gain that experience from one another. And then the courses are designed for you. We recognize that you'll be full-time working practitioners, and that's kind of the beauty of an online program, right? So if you're a morning person, you can wake up more early morning and work on a course, or if you're late night, you can do it at night. But the courses will be designed for a working practitioner. So you won't necessarily have an entire 200-page book to read in a week like you might in a PhD program, because we just recognize that that's not feasible for where you are right now in your life. And then I talked about that the courses build upon each other. So what do these courses look like? Here's the plan of study. So as you can see, in year one, fall semester, we really kind of start out with this foundation of where are we and what does this look like personally and as a profession, because we need to know where we've been before we can know where we're going. So we have this history of higher ed, advanced seminar and leadership, and then organizational theory. How do organizations operate within a theoretical frame? And then how do you personally fit within that framework? Then in the spring, the critical issues and trends in higher education is really a second part to that history in higher ed, because if we look at the past, we can now have an idea of where we're going in the future. The analysis of higher education literature begins to get you delving into the literature, and that's where you're going to start putting together your literature review for your dissertation topic, because it's really important that you can start pulling some of that stuff together and then looking at the advanced legal issues and policy studies. We go into the summer with values and ethics and then diversity issues. Again, it's kind of a personal, like looking at ourselves. And then in that fall, we have governance, quantitative research, and then capital projects and finance management. So you can see that, again, we're looking at the administrative aspect. And then the quantitative research piece, again, is looking at, from a practitioner standpoint, how can we use quantitative techniques to enhance our practice? Then in that spring, we have enrollment management, which I've already talked about a little bit, institutional assessment and program effectiveness, basically program evaluation. How can we improve our programs? How can we make those data-driven decisions? And then qualitative research, which is essentially interviewing and other types of techniques that can help get at some more finer issues in higher education. Then in the following summer, we have applied research practices, which is essentially we just pull all of those pieces together that we've done in research, and how can we apply them to our practice? How can we become a better practitioner, and what does that look like? And then directed doctoral research is where we take the work that you've done thus far with your dissertation, bring it all together, and hopefully by the end of that summer and going into the fall, you have chapters 1, 2, and 3, and you're ready to defend and collect your research. And then by the spring through fall, you are working on analyzing and writing up your research to defend your dissertation and become a doctor. And the dissertation hours are flexible. You can take between 3 and 6 hours. So if you see that you only need 1 semester left and you have 6 hours of dissertation hours left, you can take 6 hours. So there is that flexibility there. So the graduation part isn't necessarily by the end of fall. It could be that summer, it could be that spring. It really just depends on you. So one question that I always get is, what does the cost look like? Now, I want to put out there that this is an estimated cost based on current tuition and fees, and this could change from year to year, and I would encourage you to go to our Bursar's website to look at that. But based on the plan of study currently, and being full-time and taking 9 hours in fall and spring and 6 in the summer, you can see that it's roughly $3,100 in the fall and spring. And then compare that to a school that's out of state, if you're not in the state of Georgia. That's very similar. It's an online higher ed admin program. Their out-of-state costs is more than doubled what we are. So regardless of where you're at, whether you're in the state of Georgia or you're in California or Alaska, you're paying the exact same costs. And this includes the UWG estimated cost includes all tuition and fees, where the comparison cost is just tuition. That doesn't include any other fees. So you can see that we're very affordable and a reasonable program that can advance your career professionally as you need it. So I've kind of talked about a lot right now, and that's all of the basic information about our program. This is my contact information. I do want to open it up if anybody has any questions based on anything that I've said thus far. So do we accept TAP? And that's the Tuition Assistance Program in the state of Georgia. So yes, we do accept TAP. Part of The TAP policy is that students that are on TAP can be admitted so long as that there's room, and we are holding, we're looking to admit about 14 students, and we anticipate anywhere between 2 to 4 of those students will be on TAP. Great question. So, okay, great question. So the personal statement can be replaced with the writing sample. I would encourage just a basic cover letter that kind of outlines your overall goals, but it is not required. But it is something I certainly would recommend. So yeah, the University of West Georgia does offer financial aid. And you can do all that through the FAFSA and applying through that. I would recommend you go to the financial aid website, as a lot of that is very specific information. The cohort size, we're looking at about 14 students each year. And so this is the first year that we're offering this program. So in terms of the competitiveness of the admissions, we have a number of applications right now. We've had a lot of interest. So I can't really speak to what that competitiveness looks like. But I do anticipate that this program is going to be in demand. Yes, we only admit once a year since it is a cohort-based model. Students will begin classes in the fall together, and we will do that once a year as well. So the application is so right now we're in the, like I said, we're in the process of applying or accepting applications. So that's since this is the first year, I don't really have an answer to that question at this time. I am going to add the slides to download at a later time, as well as the recording of this video on our website as well. So the actual deadline is essentially whenever we fill the cohort. April 15th is when we're going to begin looking at applications, and then just based on the competitiveness and where we're at, we'll reevaluate that at a later time. But like I said, if you're interested in applying and you're starting the process, reach out to me and we will work on that together. Courses are delivered via our online delivery system called CourseDen. It's Desire to Learn, essentially, and all of our faculty use that on a pretty regular basis. And 2 of us are certified through Quality Matters, which is an online certification that essentially says that we have been trained in online pedagogy. And the cohort interacts during orientation, and it will interact throughout the individual courses as well. And the instructors will try to find ways to interact. So in some of my courses, there'll be group projects so that they can interact. There will be peer review, peer readings, those types of things. And then there's also off-course interactions. I know some in another doc program, they interact on Facebook, they call each other, they reach out, those types of things. So the cohort is really there for individual support. So the GRE, unfortunately, is something that we cannot waive regardless, because it is required for all of our doc programs in the College of Education. So unfortunately, regardless of the amount of experience or graduate GPA, it is something that we will need. But like I said, it is something that is very, very discretionary, and something that we can look at on a case-by-case basis. So if you've already applied to a graduate program at the University of West Georgia, most of that information can be rolled over to the application for this program. If you want to send me an email, I can talk to you through that and what that looks like, and we can do that for you as well. So the question came up about, is this an accredited program? There is actually not an accrediting body for student affairs doctoral programs. We are SACS accredited. We have our assessment pieces in place. We use the CAS standards and the NASPA and ACPA competencies, which are all widely accepted in the field as kind of those standards that programs utilize. So no, we're not accredited. No, there's not an accrediting body, but we take our quality of our program very seriously, and we are SACS accredited. Those are a lot of great questions that you all had. Is there any other additional questions that I can answer for you, or you have my number and my email? Please do not hesitate to reach out. So the courses are offered online. So that means that you work when you want to. So at the time of day, the courses, the information is there for you. So you go online and you complete the modules that's open for you. So the time of day is really up to you and at your convenience. So if you got something come up, you can put it off to later that night, or after you put the kids to bed, or whatever it may be. Excellent question. So the question about dissertation topics would be appropriate for the exploration in this program. Because this is higher education administration, that is extremely broad. It could be anything that is really of interest to you, that relates to higher education administration. Um, so that can include, advancement issues, to legal issues, to student success, to pretty much anything that you can think of. And that's kind of the beauty of the broadness of this project, that if there's something that you're passionate about, we will work with you to do that. Um, so resources that we have for online students is, we have the Desire to Learn, we have online writing workshops, we have online education office to help students. All of the faculty have online meeting access and capabilities. You have access to our library and research systems. You have access to all of the USG systems. So, I mean, anything that a residential student has, an online student has access to, plus a little bit more. And the faculty have access to things to make the program a bit more manageable from a distance as well. So the question came up about transferring in master's courses, and that's actually a good question because I get this a lot. So the master's courses, so like history of higher education, we probably all, if we have a master's in higher ed, took a course like that. The master's programs just touch on some of that, whereas a doctoral course will go in really, really deep and hit on topics and think about things that weren't touched on in the master's course. So from that standpoint, master's courses typically aren't transferable to a doc program. The other piece of that is if the course has already been applied to a degree that has been earned, we cannot accept those credits, because essentially it would be double dipping in a way, and that's a USG policy. Now, if you have started a doc program and you are looking to transfer over, then yeah, we can look at transferring over some courses, and that has not been applied. But the nature of the content is so different. No, we can't transfer in master's courses. Man, I really appreciate the questions and the thoughtfulness that you all have presented here. So like I said, I'm going to put these slides and this video on our website. And please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any additional questions. I'm here to support you in any way, shape, or form. And thank you again for attending.
Thank you.